Today I want to talk about confusion as a coping mechanism. And I have seen this in my life, and I actually had to have it pointed out to me because it was so beyond my consciousness and it didn't make sense to me why someone would do this. But as soon as someone pointed it out to me, it did make sense. And so this is going to be an unconscious behavioral pattern. This is not something that anyone would consciously do that I can think of, but unconsciously, remaining in a state of confusion is a way to get out of moving forward. Because as long as you're confused, you don't have to pick a path. And I definitely see that in my life. In fact, I still struggle with confusion and distraction. And I'm sure this does have roots in the way that we grew up. And so what underlies this would probably be a fear of our truth, a fear of the truth, and a fear of moving forward. So this is a perfect topic for me today because I was thinking about how distracted I feel. And I'm clear on the things that I need to do for myself. And yet I always find some other issue or something else someone else is doing is what I'm doing. And I'm not doing what I had chosen to focus on. So confusion is going to be the topic. And this is very helpful because if you're always confused, you always feel like you don't know what's going on in your relationships, you don't know what's going on in your life, you don't know what's going on in the world. If this is happening in more than one area of your life, chances are, this is coming from you. And that's not to say that there aren't confusing things in the world, but there's enough that can be understood in life that you don't have to live in a state in confusion. Also, it's worth knowing that you don't have to know everything in order to move forward. So now we're looking at trust issues and courage and moving into the unknown. So this could have to do with the relationship to the unknown and how we learned how to deal with that. Again, circling back to truth and how maybe we grew up with people who were more comfortable not knowing and living in denial. And so I would like to do a healing around this. Starting from the state of confusion, why this would be used as a coping mechanism. Okay, so as I'm seeing it, it does come from growing up in confusing environments, at least for me. So being confused by the environment, or perhaps the environment was confused. The people in my environment were confused. And so as I look at the energetics of it, it's causing my body to want to hide in a shell. To cope with that. And that makes sense why it would be stopping me now. I'm really bringing in courage. I feel like the energy of courage and conviction, but in a sense of, it's more like faith or decisiveness. It's like when you really do know the way and there's just forces arguing against that. And I'm feeling this, just the energy of courage, almost moving forward without being able to see the way, but knowing the way. I'm feeling there's a vulnerability in the upper back, the shoulders. It's this has a lot to do with what other people will say or do, are saying or doing, trying to stop you perhaps, maybe through their own fears. Now I feel it in the sacral. There's definitely a feeling of wanting to protect almost one's own sense of intuition, one's own truth, one's own path, one's own will, one's own will. And I don't mean willfulness, like forcing yourself upon another. I mean what your body divinely wants to get up and do, like your spirit divinely wants to get up and do. That will. It really is like a divine will, an empowered will. It's not a forceful shadow will. Really bringing in power here. Determination, conviction. Self-honor. It's the willingness to honor the truth. When I first brought in the energy, it felt almost overbearing, like it's interesting to see it shift as it felt almost righteous, and I'm like, is this wrong? But it's not. So if you feel almost over empowered, just know that is because of moving from such a disempowered state, that it just feels like too much. But as I stay with it, it actually it comes to a more comfortable middle. It's like that reclamation energy is so much that it just feels like a lot, especially if you have this pattern of not utilizing your power. And again, this is power is for what you will do. This is not for making other people do stuff. This is for what you will do. In case there's any confusion about the way that I'm using that term. It feels better to me. It is, if I'm honest, it is a bit uncomfortable for me to stay in that energy because I have a tendency to just forfeit my power. So if it feels uncomfortable, I'm going to bring, let's see. Okay, so now we're getting back to worthiness, feeling worthy of this. This is only your life, so it doesn't even logically make sense why you would not have a right to your own life unless you are so used to others controlling you that you've lost that sense of worthiness to your own action, to your own right to act. This is restoring that right to act, your right to act on your own behalf and on your own truth. This for me really is coming from a higher place, a spiritual place. It's coming from what I would call God, your connection to God. I'm not talking about the right to act the way the ego wants to act out. But perhaps people have used that as a way to guilt trip you out of owning your power. Ooh, that's interesting. That might be it. Saying that's a form of egoism when actually it was empowerment, and now stripping out that authentic empowerment out of fear of being egoic. is possible, because this is all coming up for me. I'm addressing this discomfort. And the voice in my head that keeps coming up is like, but I'm just acting for me. I'm just doing what I want. And no one is involved in these situations. So it's like, why would I feel guilty? You know, like learning to play piano or like drawing a picture, you know. So if there's discomfort, just acting out of my authentic being, like something happened. And I know that I've seen this in other people. They talk about what they want to do and then they don't do it. So this is addressing that. And yeah, we're getting into codependency, where you've learned how to forfeit what is your truth to serve others in some regard. And I'm really, really getting guilt tripping coming up here. The energy of feeling guilty for doing for acting in your own right. So bringing in the anecdote to the guilt tripping, because now if there is guilt, this is false guilt. False guilt. This is the energy of manipulation from others, which may now be internalized voices in one's own head. There we go. Okay, where we still have power is shifting out the voice in our own heads. Okay, I feel some movement there now. Good job. Good job. Okay, so now I see, what's that? Okay, so while I was feeling that overly forceful, is there was kind of an element of wanting to change others' minds in there that was outside of my right to act, or that outside of my power. So that's, as I address the actual voice I need to change is in my own head, it helps that power feel more centralized in my body and less like protruding. Okay. Good. It's settling much more now. Okay. I'm feeling called to address the confusion. Okay, so this is now coming up as others' confusion. Taking up others' confusion personally, when that is not yours to carry. And again, you do not have to explain yourself to anyone. So okay, it's shifting. I'm feeling definitely inner child wounding here. Or it's a vulnerable feeling that I'm feeling when I discuss this. So it's being misunderstood, and therefore feeling like you need to explain yourself further. Shame. No, not shame. Some embarrassment, shame, awkwardness. There's an awkward feeling of like, is there something wrong with me because they can't understand? And then wanting to like understand myself better, to like communicate it better. And it's just, this is not necessary. This is hold on, I feel it there. I'm still coming back to that right to act from my own spirit without having to explain myself. I'm still getting that as being like, maybe this like confusion is like, why would I have to explain myself? Or why would I have to fight for my own right? Well, this could have serious background in, civil rights. I was looking at it from a family systems point, but this could have background even, in civil rights. You could have immigrant rights. You could have issues, women's rights, race rights. Like, this could have, now what we're touching a little bit is confusion around injustice. When there's a divine part of you that knows that you have a right to something that people are telling you don't. Wow, okay, this is not where I thought this was going to go, but it's what's coming up. Okay, wow. I'm sitting with it because I really feel that coming up now in the body. And again, this could all be ancestral, because I don't know someone whose ancestors does not have this in some regard. Even if it's just the women, but it's not. This is, again, prolific issue. Yeah. Okay. I'm still feeling that guilt in the sacral. Guilt for having rights, for feeling that you have a right to something that others say you don't. Yeah, okay, that clicked. So this has to do with self-advocacy, being at odds with what others are saying. And this sort of false guilt there around when no one else will advocate for you, basically. And you're the only one there. Looks like there's this false guilt that gets lodged in there, because you're kind of against other people in some sense. You're not against them, but their voices. And I think, especially if those people are family, but it doesn't have to be family, like society, because that's our belonging, that's our belonging. So our need for belonging is at war with our need for our rights. And so it's creating this bubble of guilt there as we contemplate which action to take almost. It's interesting. Well, I felt it shift out. This is really not the direction I thought this was going to go at all. Which is, I love doing these healings because the issues always end up being so much deeper and more visible on a social lens. Again, I wasn't expecting this to come down to that at all. But that's a big issue to touch on. It does feel better. Man, this is all about worthiness too. I'm getting kind of something about the right to advance, or do better for yourself, to do better for yourself, to grow, to do better for yourself. Okay, so I'm getting a context in which this could have happened. So, a lot of the times with our families, a lot of the people will try to stop the most ambitious people in the family because they're really trying to protect them, but they're coming from a place of fear and not believing in them. And so they essentially hinder, through their negativity and fear, that person's advancement to the extent that it's affecting you, which is what I'm dealing with now, is in any case that it has affected you. And that sort of right to, again, this is all getting down to self-advocacy and what is the word? Ambition. This is the right to ambition. If you could come from a family of a lot of hardship, then it's very often the case that they are not there can be a fear mindset of trying to avoid hardship instead of go for what you really want. And this can be difficult for a child who doesn't have that, who does still want to go for gold, who still wants to dream and believe and thrive. And they don't want to just survive and avoid for the rest of their life. So this can be those old voices. Want to shift out those old voices from anyone who has ever said not to, has ever tried to stop you, say why not, say why it's going to be hard, say why you can't do it, why you should take the easier path or the moderate path or the path other people took. Shifting all those old voices out. And any personalization that was that person's opinion of you, when really it was their opinion of themselves. Shifting this out. And the energy I feel coming in is really love and joy. There's a sweetness and a sparkle. Because what those people have forgotten is that there is a joy in being ambitious. There is a joy in going for it. There is such a joy in it that is so much bigger than if you even make it or not. That those people have lost touch with. That we have lost touch with. Bringing that energy in. The joy of going for it. Wow, I feel that down the back, all the way to the root chakra. And this makes sense. For a lot of people, survival has been it. In their family systems, in their own lives. But this is about bringing back in that joy of living. Regardless the outcome. Regardless if you fail. Regardless if you fall, if it gets messy, regardless. This is just the joy of life and going for it. Anyway. But I feel that moving. I feel that. And it makes me emotional because I can feel that part, it has been in me. And wants to believe that still. Or maybe just the joy of that returning is a bit emotional. I feel that because I'm feeling that in the heart, actually. And it's almost like this little child who has been sitting there, begging to play. Let me play, let me go in, let me swing the bat, let me. And they've just been, sitting there in the back waiting and, sad. And yeah. Okay, so now we're bringing in self-belief. Belief. This is actually coming through as belief, not self-belief. So this is about believing in life. So perhaps these voices, whether these are your own, because these could have come from you. They might not have been said from someone else. These could have been your own interpretation from your environment, your response to life. But I know a lot of people have actually had these said to them. So whichever way it came into your head, this is a belief in life, actually. A belief that life won't let you down. Wow, I feel that in the heart. Yeah. And that makes sense why a lot of people, when they say, believe in yourself, and, there is also this aspect of believing in life. Because you can believe in yourself till the cows come home, but if you don't believe in what you're throwing your heart into, why would you really throw your heart into it? So, and I think life is so much more interactive than honestly the New Age community would have you believe. I think there's almost too much self-reliance within the New Age teachings. Because from my experience, you can interact with life a lot more, and it can heal you back. It's not just like self. So I don't know, I've had too profound of experiences to really believe anything else. And so pushing out all those outdated beliefs. I mean, I really feel it now much more. It's so much joy. It's like the joy that you feel of playfulness and adventure and excitement and just the love of being able to interact with something trustworthy. Like, that's a joyful experience. I feel it in the heart now. This is great. This is good. And it does link into what I was bringing up initially. Okay, I feel good here. I'm going to let it be. Thank you.